I loved my art, even when the world didn't. My name is Aaron, and I was born with nothing, no wealth, no title, not even a name people remembered for long. But I had a gift, or perhaps a curse. I loved to paint. From the moment I first held a piece of charcoal and dragged it across a wall, I was mesmerized. The world faded. Hunger, cold, ridicule, none of it mattered. All I could see were colors, shapes, and the beauty that most people walked past without noticing. But in my village, beauty had no price. Wheat had a price. Cloth had a price. Even gossip had value. But art? Art was nothing but a poor man's waste of time. I was the son of a cobbler. My father's hands were always stained with polish and leather dye. He believed in hard work, in fixing souls, not in chasing dreams. He often told me, "Aaron, paint won't fill your stomach. Learn a trade, hammer nails, mend shoes. Only fools waste time with brushes." But every evening, when the day's work was done, I would sneak behind the workshop with scraps of parchment and smear crushed berries, soot, or anything that could make a mark. I painted the sunset as it bled across the hills, the market where women bargained with loud voices, the old dog who limped near the well. I had nothing, yet I felt rich when I painted. Still, poverty was cruel. My stomach often growled louder than my brushstrokes. There were days I thought of abandoning art, picking up my father's tools, and giving in to what the world demanded. But then, whenever I held a brush, something in me whispered, "Keep going. This is who you are." As I grew, I began painting portraits of people in the village. Farmers, shopkeepers, children. I never asked for payment, not because I didn't need it, but because I couldn't bear the thought of beauty locked behind coin. "Aaron, you fool," they would laugh, "you waste your time. Who gives away their work for free?" But when I handed a painting to an old mother, and tears filled her eyes because she saw her late husband's smile captured in strokes, when a little boy clutched the sketch of his dog as if it were treasure, I knew I had chosen rightly. Their joy was my reward. Yet life is not kind to dreamers. Winters were harsh. Paint was costly. My clothes grew thinner, and hunger became a constant companion. Sometimes I wondered if my father had been right all along. One evening, as I sat shivering in my tiny corner, staring at half-finished canvases, despair clawed at me. What good is passion, I thought, if it cannot even buy bread? I almost snapped my brushes that night. Almost. But instead, I picked one up and painted my hunger, my despair, my emptiness. When I was done, I looked at the canvas and realized even suffering could be turned into beauty, and perhaps that was my purpose. One summer afternoon, as I was sketching by the fountain, a stranger approached. He wore plain clothes, but there was something about him, an air of quiet authority, refinement, hidden beneath simplicity. He watched me for a long while before speaking. "You paint well," he said softly. I nodded, unsure how to reply. "Do you sell your art?" he asked. I shook my head. "I give it away. Beauty shouldn't have a price." He smiled faintly, as if my words amused him. Then he pulled out a small pouch and placed it in my hand. The weight surprised me, silver coins, more than I had ever seen. "Paint me a portrait," he said, "not of my face. Paint my soul if you can." No one had ever asked me for such a thing before, I agreed. For weeks, I poured myself into the canvas. I didn't just paint his features. I painted the dignity in his eyes, the hidden strength in his silence, the storm he carried but did not show. When I finally unveiled it, the stranger's face softened. For a moment, I thought I saw something more than approval, almost gratitude. He said only one thing before leaving: never stop painting. One day, the world will see what I see. And just like that, he disappeared. Life went on. I used his silver to buy more paint to survive a little longer, kept painting portraits, landscapes, moments of fleeting beauty. People still mocked me. Some still called me a fool. But I no longer doubted. I remembered the stranger's words, and they kept me alive. Years passed. My hair began to gray. My hands grew rougher. But my love for painting never dimmed. Even when I was poor, even when hunger returned, I painted. Always. One evening, as I was closing my tiny studio, I heard a commotion. Horses, carriages, soldiers. A royal procession stopped right outside my door. Before I could react, a nobleman stepped out. His robes shimmered. His crown caught the fading light. He was no longer the plain stranger I remembered. He was the prince of the realm. He walked straight to me, smiling as though greeting an old friend. "Aaron," he said, "do you remember me?" My voice faltered. "The portrait. You were the stranger." He nodded. "That day when you painted me, I was still learning who I was. Your art showed me a strength I could not see in myself. It gave me courage to become the man I am today." I stood frozen, overwhelmed. The prince continued, "Now, I wish to share your gift with the world. Come with me to the court. Paint not just for peasants in the village, but for kings, queens, and generations to come. Your art deserves to live forever." Tears blurred my vision. After a lifetime of hunger, mockery, and struggle, my passion had finally opened the door I had dreamed of all along. The lesson I learned that night as I stood in the grand palace, brushes in hand, I thought of the boy I once was. Poor, hungry, mocked, and tempted to give up. If I had abandoned my art, I would have abandoned myself. And so, to you who hear my story, I say this: when you do what you love with sincerity, even when no one values it, even when the world laughs at you, keep going. Because passion done with love does not vanish. It waits patiently until one day the right eyes see it. And when that day comes, the doors of fortune open, wider than you could ever imagine.